Okay, my friends. So, first of all, welcome to the branding course. This is going to be different than a lot of other branding courses out there because, similar to a lot of my stuff, I try to pack it in with info, personal experience. The proof is in the pudding. Unlike a lot of other people who have courses like this, you can go to my Instagram. You can go to my TikTok. You can go to my YouTube. I actually am a working producer and DJ taking my own advice rather than somebody who messes with Ableton. I guess maybe they produce, maybe they don't, but they can teach it. I like to show you guys that the proof is here by doing both. I teach it and I take my own advice and release it to the world, and you can see that it's working. So branding, the biggest thing I can really begin to drive home with branding it, at least starting out, is don't jump to something right away. And I almost venture to say, unless you, well, even if you really know, because I truly believe that branding develops when you sleep on it, as well as not keep it a secret. I never would have dreamed that I would have a pineapple guy as sort of my branding and logo. Some of you might even say, really? That's surprising or kind of weird that you never dreamed that or never thought that. That happened over time of me deciding what I really like, deciding who I want to be, deciding where I need work in my life, which I know sounds a little philosophical, but we'll get into that, and just kind of deciding what I'm happy with. So, and sharing it with people who bounced their ideas off of me, whether it be for branding or who I am. I've had plenty of discussions that were secretly branding discussions, but it was basically, me and a friend over a beer or two. Once we all kind of get loose enough and lubed up on the social liquid of beer or wine or whatever it was, and they get to talking about who I am as a person. Keep in mind, though, part of that is a trick in that who you are, and I listened because they were right, but also understood they're wrong, and I am projecting, apparently according to them, something that I don't want to be. So people say you're one way and you think, gosh, I don't think I'm that way. Like, no, you really are. Okay, well, that is not what I want to project. And, we all struggle with that. And sometimes it's spot on, and other times it's exactly what I just said of like, that's not what I want to be, so I need to work on that. And, that can even be as obvious as looking in the mirror and looking at yourself when you speak and things of that nature to understand what you project when you speak. Heck, I would even take it as far, because I did this, take an Acting 101 course. It's a ton of fun, and it doesn't have to be for credit, but it helps you understand your capabilities and who you are and who you're willing to maybe bend and be in a situation. So all of this goes back to branding, and I know it seems like I might be branching off, but really it's the journey of knowing yourself, what you want to project, and what you want your business essentially to project. If you're not someone that ever laughs, or you're not someone who has ever had a professor thinking about the Acting 101 course say, okay, I want everybody to go out of the room, and I want everybody one at a time to come in. I'll sit in the middle of the room, and as you come in, I just want you to use the space, and you're going to say the sentence, I own this place. And you say it any way you want to. And when I say any way you want to, I mean any way you want to. And because everybody there either, was like me and just curious or wanted to really be an actor, you had all kinds of different responses. Angry, sad, funny, egotistical, all kinds of different responses. The point wasn't to nail your part necessarily. It was to understand that there's a spectrum. And it's not a bad idea to explore it all, no matter how ridiculous you look or feel, because you might just discover something about yourself that you didn't know was inside. So super philosophical. I bet you've never heard this kind of talk on the intro video of a branding course, but it's absolutely true. When the Heart Hands logo came to my mind, I realized that a heart, the bottom of it, the early stages of that logo, the bottom of a heart could sort of be pried apart, if you will, and sort of make an M. So the dip in the heart at the top was kind of the top of an M, a rounded M. And from there, the logo just developed. But it didn't come right away because, as I'm sure you can even imagine right now, the point, the bottom of a heart that is pried apart and separated, although it makes an M, a heart-style M like that is sort of awkward. I'm sure you can picture it. It's sort of weird. So I thought to myself, well, what can I do with this logo to still drive home the idea of heart hands? Because I love that. I mean, anybody who's a raver, you've done it a million times to an artist on stage. You've done it to friends who are across the room, and because the music is blaring, you can't talk to them or get to them, but you hold up the heart hands and you know that they're okay and you're okay and having a good time. It sounds maybe ridiculous to some, but that's our culture, and that's what it is. And so I slept on it more and more, and I worked with people on developing that idea, and I spoke about that idea. And sometimes when you speak to friends about this, fellow DJs, sometimes you just know in your heart that something is right and that they are wrong. I had some resistance from friends who meant well, but said that's not a good logo. The reason why it's not a good logo is because they're thinking about it from them and they can't see my vision. Now, I don't want you to use that as an excuse, though. Make sure that you can really clearly see your vision. I see myself on stage, and that is something that I will do and the crowd will do back to me. Do other people do it? Sure. But guess what? I'm the one who took it and is branding it. So now, as my brand expands and that happens, whether the photos from 5 years ago before that logo was made or 5 years from now, as long as I keep expanding my brand and my awareness, people are going to think Mikey when they see that. Pretty clever, I think. So, not that you have to come up with something like that. I'm just saying, just kind of consider the balance and the intuition of this. And this is really a journey on self-awareness, which is why I mentioned the acting class with all of this. Some of my logos have been met with resistance. Some of them have changed over the years. Others have been scrapped. But you have to know yourself, and you have to understand when some people give you advice, it's phenomenal and they're right, and you're wrong, and you need to change. And other times you need to realize that a dark techno producer is never going to understand a logo that's a heart hands because they're a dark techno producer. They're not tropical, they don't make bright music, they don't make happy music. So even though they're a good friend, they just don't identify with that. But you have to know yourself good enough, once again, acting class in the spectrum, to understand, while I appreciate their opinion over a beer or two, they can't see the light. They don't see the light at the end of the tunnel. They don't see a ton of candy ravers holding that sign up on the main stage because they don't want something like that. They want a dark nightclub at 4 o'clock in the morning with everybody wearing black t-shirts and absolutely no candy and no brightness, which is fine too. That's not a criticism. It's just understanding who you're asking and understanding when friends and family and mentors are right and when they're wrong. And sometimes they're wrong because you have not expressed your vision clearly to them. Once again, the acting class. You need to have clarity on your brand. You need to know who you are, and you need to see it. And if you can't see it yet, that's okay. But then sleep on it, develop it, talk about it. Go to that acting class the second week when you thought about quitting. Stretch your limits. Get a little bit scared with maybe the acting class asking you to publicly speak for a minute. Look at other people's brands. Think about what you want to project and go for it. So, in conclusion for this video, it's about sleeping on it. It's about starting a journey of self-awareness and accepting the journey of self-awareness, accepting that this is work. This is not a sticker design. This is work. This is going to take probably days, weeks, or like me, months to chisel out. So just be ready for that. It's work. It's work like learning FL Studio or Ableton. It's work like learning how to mix properly. It's work. It's work, and it's not necessarily any shorter of a time learning than that. So think about it, consider it, and get back to you in a minute.